Now, listen, as we talk about this election and how the GOP is no doubt, well, Trump's party, there are many Republicans who aren't willing to accept that particular notion. And my next guest, he's one of those people, a businessman who goes by Texas Trey, a lifelong Republican who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 while he is leaving the party to become an independent in a red state. And he's getting attention for his decision and speaking out for candidates that he believes in. Trey joins me now. Trey, nice to talk to you. How you doing?
Hey, I'm great, Laura. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, you've voted the Republican ticket most of your life, usually a straight party ticket. Now you've said that you've had it with both parties. What changed so much for you?
Well, politics was something that for the majority of my life just didn't permeate every aspect of it like it does now. I mean, it's just injected into everything that we do. So, I remember when Republicans and Democrats, the biggest thing they used to argue about was the budget. And now it's, from the beer you drink to the stores that you shop at and so forth. And it all has political implications. So coming up through life and voting straight ticket Republican was something I did more or less out of, I thought it was my patriotic duty, if anything else. And coming into 2016, when Donald Trump was running, my vote for Trump wasn't so much a vote in support of him as it was a vote against Hillary, if you will. She didn't have anything to offer that necessarily appealed to me. I felt the election was hers to lose, and the whole thing seemed to be at least pretty much sewn up as far as everybody thought, including her. And I was very shocked to learn the next day that he had actually won when I really didn't think that he would. The issues, suffice to say, were things I just never really paid attention to.
I want to hear what you have to say about that, but now I'm curious about have you had an evolution of thought as it relates to Hillary Clinton now in the wake of all of this?
Yes, absolutely. And the irony of it is she was absolutely right. She was absolutely right about everything that she said, although I didn't necessarily pay too much attention to the things that she said. Going back, hindsight's very clear, very clear.
Well, you were getting ready to talk about some of the concerns you have, and I want to get right into those because you've expressed your frustrations, your annoyances, shall we say, around what's been going on in the presidential run and the administration for Donald Trump as well at one point. Does that translate and extend to, I wonder, Congress as well? Because, frankly, we're seeing a lot of dysfunction on Capitol Hill.
Oh, it's extreme. It's absolutely beyond frustrating. The activities and the things that they engage in, the partisan politics, it's all for show, and nothing of substance actually nothing to benefit the American people actually takes place there. It was interesting to note for me how both sides seem to come together fairly quickly on what is often referred to as the TikTok ban bill. They didn't seem to have a problem getting any legislation through about that. But as far as the real issues that Americans are faced with, immigration reform, healthcare reform, gun violence, all of these things, that just goes totally ignored.
You hear about the concept of choosing one's battles, but that seems to be quite the disconnect for you and many voters in terms of the battles that are prioritized in a lot of spaces. You're actually now ringing the alarm, though, and you're talking about this election. It's about, 220-something days away at this point. You're talking about it as being a kind of watershed moment for this country. Why do you think this election, compared to, say, 2020 or 2016, will be so different?
Well, I think, quite plainly, they have told us what they're going to do. They have laid it out very clearly for us. Really, this election is a referendum on freedom and democracy at this point. A lot of people say, we're a republic. Well, yes, but we have democratic processes and principles that underpin that republic. And to me, it really boils down to this. We can vote for a man who, by voting for him, those principles and processes will survive, and we will live to fight another day in terms of being able to work through our issues. And a vote for Trump is to run the risk of losing all of that, to run the risk of, well, the man said himself he wanted to be a dictator on day one. I don't know of many dictators that are willing to give up authority once it's granted to them.
I wonder, you're now going to be an independent in a red state, and I often wonder, at one time, independence as a collective body, and I'm generalizing, was that you just didn't relate to everything that a particular party spoke about. And it was sort of the, not necessarily a middle ground, but you wanted to make sure you could be convinced by both sides. Now independent voters are increasingly more rejecting both parties and also having and maintaining their own lane. Are you identifying as an independent out of rejection or because it's more of a moderate position?
I identify as an independent voter because I don't fit neatly into a particular ideological box. I have different thoughts and opinions on different issues. Some of them would be right of center, some of them would be left of center. For example, I believe and support, the Second Amendment of the United States. Although I do believe that there are certain classifications of weapons that we should not be allowed to have. I believe in the right of people to love and marry whomever they choose to love. I believe in bodily autonomy for women. So there's just a number of things I think, when I look at the issues and I consider them one by one and my thoughts and my beliefs, I just don't fit with necessarily one side or the other. And I think there are a lot of Americans out there like that.
It's interesting to think about, and I think increasingly so. Many people are identifying the way you're describing. I have to ask you about this, though, because Trump revealed just this week that he is selling God Bless the USA Bibles for about $60. I wonder what you make of this money-making venture. I think it's licensing his name.
No, it's just another grift. I can only imagine what's in this Patriot Bible of his. I mean, the Constitution, I'm sure, is probably in there. I mean, Jesus wrote it after the Sermon on the Mount, right? I mean, give me a break. It's just ridiculous.
That made me laugh. Thank you so much, Texas Trey. Thanks for joining me tonight.
You bet. Thank you.